Welcome back to Truth Quest. My name is Aaron Moriarity. I will be your host. We're going on a quest for truth together in living color. Color is brought to you tonight by StreamYard, and it truly is living color. It mimics 3D actual life colors, and it's not any of that black and white TV we all saw when we were kids. Those of us who are old enough to have had black and white TVs when we were kids. Oh, yeah. Well, I hope you're all having a wonderful Wednesday. Let's go see who's all here. And we got Mud Rabbits up here. Hello, Mud Rabbit. Welcome to the program. Awesome. And there's that Truth Quest character again. Hello, Catherine Weiss. Good to see you here. Yeah. And our good friend Austin Morris is back in town here. Good to see you again, buddy. Yeah, I think we got to get the music rolling here. What do you think? La 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 la. Here it is. I don't need to hum anymore. I just don't need to hum anymore because we got music going. Well, there's been some good. I mean, has anybody seen the trial footage for the Kerry Lake thing over there in Arizona? Quite interesting. Hello, Dark Brain. Welcome to the program. Yeah, Kerry Lake's team is kicking butt over there. They're finding every stone they turn up, they find more fraud. And gee, I hope that this judge is a good one. You know, so far, 8 of the 10 counts they dismissed. There are only like 2 counts that they're allowing, and it's going pretty well. It looks like. I mean, I'm no lawyer, believe you me. Actually, I've been my lawyer, and I've always done very well. Although I need to charge myself more. I'm that good. I need to charge myself more next time. Yeah. The more I pay myself, the better I think I'll be. I think that's true. I think that's very true. And I just love how good and nice and awesome everybody is. And happy Christmas week to you all. Yes, it's that Christmas thing is coming around the corner again, and I'm struggling to get in the Christmas spirit, and I just need to put out my tree. I think that will help. I almost did it today. It's you see, it's a pretty big job. First of all, I have to open a closet door and pray that nothing falls out. Magically, it kind of stays. Then I have to quite carefully pluck out the Christmas tree. And then turn around, put it on the little end table, and plug it in. That's it. That's my elaborate decorating ritual. There you go. Now you know how it goes over here at the Moriarity house. I don't know, Aaron. Closets can be intimidating. Yes, they can, but all you have to do is be able to close the door or almost close the door, and then you're fine. As long as you can close the door or even just almost. It's pretty good. As long as stuff doesn't fall out. Yeah, you think so? The defense seems desperate? Be brave. Be brave. I gotta face that closet again. Oh boy. The nice thing is when I pull the tree out, a couple of the ornaments are still on the tree. That's the only ones I got. So they better be on the tree. But that's okay. And half the lights don't work, but that's okay. That's okay. It's the spirit that counts, right? So there you go. Working on it. Trying to get in that Christmas mood. Just trying. I'm sure it'll get there around the 25th or so. That's when it'll kick in, I think. So I was busy today. Did you all see well, first of all, did you see that picture of the J6 people? I mean, you got Miss Piggy there, and you got Adam Shifty Shift, and all the other desperados there. And they just looked so evil that I had to just take that picture over there to the meme press and press me out a meme. And I've been sharing it around on the Twitter world. So check this out. And making its Miss Piggy and Kermit, yes. It's making its video debut here on the program tonight. Okay, here we go. And here it is. This is a meme I made today. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? Pure evil. Don't they just look evil? Now, doesn't every single one of these people, don't they look like they've got something to hide, or they're doing something nasty or wrong? So Shifty Shift looks like, okay, he's pretty confident. He's going to push the lie and be the chief lie guy. And these are the foot soldiers. Kinzinger here is a little reluctant, but he's a wuss. Okay, you got an R by your name. Okay, you don't want those films out. All right, you got to do this. Okay, I'll do it. Just don't kill me. All right. They look like this guy here. This guy here, I think he's a lawyer. God, does he look shady? This guy, he looks like he's got something else packed in his closet. And this guy back here, who's this guy? Is he the heavy that does the hits? I don't know, man. And this guy here, none of them look happy. This guy has this smug, crappy, smug look he always has. I wouldn't call it a smile. Gitmo, all of them, yes. Oh, desperate in their questioning of witnesses, asking them if they are lawyers. Yeah, asked to rephrase the question. Yeah. But I think enough is coming out. Didn't a substantial amount of the ballots turn out to be fraudulent? Like a pretty hefty, like 20 or 40% of them or something like that? Hello, Peggy Dancer. Welcome to the program. Program Cracker. Welcome to the Program Cracker. Programmy. Lawfare. Yeah, it's not very fair, is it? It's not very fair when you use lawfare. They are. None of them looks happy. But we got to do it. We got to do it. It's so evil. Pure evil. That's why I made the meme. Because it just looks, they look evil. Oh yeah, Foil was buffering quite a bit there. Yeah, boy, look at Miss Piggy. I mean, she really does look like Miss Piggy. I mean, you'd think she would do something different hairdo or something. But she must look in the mirror every day and go, well, okay, I'm looking like Miss Piggy again. I'm trying my hardest to look exactly like Miss Piggy. I'm doing a pretty good job. Yep, wear my hair exactly the way she wears hers. Even hold myself the same way. Funny thing is, she's a puppet too. Although Miss Piggy is prettier. You're right. Yeah, I don't think Kermit would fall for her. She's a sourpuss. So that's my little meme today. Hot off the meme press, the Truth Quest meme press. Look at that. Pure evil. Yeah, they are. I mean, you look at conservatives and they're all happy. And you know what, friends? Do you know how our three-letter agencies are basically targeting us 24/7? They're in the movie production, TV production, news production, everything, social media, censoring. They're really trying to cultivate what each of us is able to see or say. And it's quite alarming and quite disturbing when you think about the grand scope of it all and what it all means for our country. And you know, they always like to get ahead and put little tidbits out there, right? Okay, so I have been thinking, trying to think like these crazy people. Yes, I agree, Austin. Hello, Mad Poe. Good to see you here. All right. So, the thing that struck me about all of this, and my memory went back to something. Now, you know how much the deep state, the FBI, CIA, and all of the evil people who are in charge of these organizations that do have good people still working there. The good people are the whistleblowers. Those are the good people, okay? The cream rises to the top. The top are the whistleblowers. So you know that the deep state, the evil people, the people who killed Kennedy, that keep trying to curate our society here, they hate Trump. And I really couldn't figure that out. Why would they hate him? He's doing great things for the country. The people are behind him. He's got a majority of the people behind him. Why would all these other people, besides having something to hide, and maybe they're criminals, which is one thing, but there's something else. And it's, like I said, I think it's part of the curated, manicured reality that we find ourselves in that's been muddied by these organizations. So check this out. And I alluded to this the other day, but it just struck me. So if you're the deep state and stuff is starting to unravel on you, and you don't want to lose power, and the people are waking up, you fall back on some stories that you promoted. If you're the CIA and the FBI, look at this, the danger of a populist movement, all right? Okay, when does populism become a threat to democracy? Look at this. Okay, populism becomes a danger to democracy when it seeks to restrict the rights of political, racial, ethnic, or other minorities. Well, a populist movement becomes good for the country when it's popular because the leaders are doing good things for the country. That's not a bad thing, but here's how they twist it. So they can take a look at Trump and go, oh my God, he's a populist movement. We can't let this happen. They didn't want him to even run. They tried to prevent it. There was like 26 assassination attempts before his inauguration. Let's see here. World Report 2017, dangerous rise of populism. Okay, and they point to other populist movements like, Adolf Hitler and those type of things. But it doesn't have to go bad. In the case of Trump, it was going good, but they don't care about that. All they care about is power. And if they can slip it into one of these things here, always gendered and dangerous. Yeah. No, it's not, because the way this country is set up, it's whoever wins the election, who gets the most popular vote, the most populous person wins, and that's who runs the country. How can that be dangerous? How can it ever be dangerous when the people are behind a leader that's doing things good for them? This is the danger of these so-called intelligence agencies. I'd say lack of intelligence agencies. There's no intelligence there at all. There's no critical thinking, because they've had their own way for so long. They've been spoiled. They've gotten their way, and they don't want to change. They don't want the people to have a voice. And it's really sickening. It's not the FBI and CIA that should be. I mean, the CIA that Andrew talks about back in the 70s, when they were respected, I guess before we knew all of the shady things that they had done, even though the JFK thing was always lurking. It's dangerous to them, yes. But the very fact that it is a popular movement should ensure that it makes it in this country. The fact that we have our intelligence agencies working against the popular sentiment is extremely dangerous to our republic, our representative republic. Let's call it what it is. Okay. How you like that? That's my rant. Here you go. You want to call in? Call in and we'll talk about it. On all that kind of crazy stuff. Cool as a moose. There it is. There's your call-in number. Ooh, 88 millimeters at the end there. That's kind of cool. Yes, they are. They are trying to restrict civil rights. They're trying to turn the majority into the minority, especially with the southern border being open like it is. And I would imagine the northern border is the same way. It just doesn't get as much press. But you have to think that there's just as many people coming in from north. Maybe not as many. Well, thank you, Mud Rabbit. Send your inquiries, photos, and stories to Aaron to share on the show. Yeah, and did you see Suspicious Observers noted something today? It was very interesting, where they show the sun, the sun's kind of blocked off, and they show all this stuff coming. But something comes in and it turns and it goes out again. And it's like, what's that? Nobody knows. It's kind of freaky. Kind of freaky. You saw that too? Oh yeah, that was fantastic. It was pretty cool. But you don't know what it is. Nobody knows what it could be. It could be one of our own secret space program ships. Maybe one of these miles-long ships that William Tompkins designed and that were allegedly built and put into service. But You can't tell how close to the camera it is or the satellite, but it does clearly move. I mean, I guess there could be a particle in space and little retro jet shoots to reposition it, to keep it in the right spot. It could flick it away. Yeah, you never know. Something odd like that could be. Could be. Yeah. Oh, and did you see what the disgraceful FBI statement about the Twitter files? It's amazing. The mainstream media hasn't touched it. I think Fox did a little bit on it. And so this was their response. I'm sure you've all seen it by now, but I want to show it to you because I fixed it. Here's the way it appears, okay? FBI statement on Twitter. It is unfortunate that conspiracy theorists and others are feeding the American public misinformation with the sole purpose of attempting to discredit the agency. What agency? The agency of lies? Purpose of it. Nobody has to attempt to discredit the agency. They do a very fine job of it all by themselves. Every single day. Like this pile of garbage. Well, I saw this and I thought, you know what? This stinks to high heaven. Right? Yeah. Doesn't that stink? So I went ahead and I fixed it. So I just couldn't let it be. So here we go. The statement we the people demand. FBI statement on Twitter. It is unfortunate that patriots and others are learning the truth of our unconstitutional censorship of free speech and suppressing the truth about the Hunter Biden laptop to sway the election in 2020. We are sorry, and we all resign without pay. Oh, that's a Truth Quest alert. Oh, yeah, it's on that Truth Quest channel. FBI responds to Twitter file dumps. How do you like that? I think I fixed it. What do you think? There you go. That's what we demand. Any other response is not going to do it. It's going to have to be something very close to that before we, the people who actually pay them, their salary comes from us. So they are our boss. I say, until they can clean up their mess, we should defund them completely. Defund the FBI. Defund them. They don't deserve to be around. They can go work at Twitter. There's enough of them working there already. Right? It's disgraceful. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how fake this matrix actually is. So the FBI, the ones that had the Hunter Biden laptop in December 2019 and in 2020, they claimed it was Russian disinformation when they knew it wasn't. And now they're saying the fact that the real communications between Twitter and the FBI, which have been released, are fake? Really? Oh, really? Oh, and you got such a good track record on telling the truth. Of course, we're going to believe everything you say. Not. Well, we all know what's going to happen to them when Daddy T is back. Yeah. You don't write a whole chapter on revenge and not get some good revenge after all the crap he's been through. And look who's here. It's Operation Shutdown. Yes. You know that's right, man, because we're just downrange of strange, where the outrageous is contagious, and the paranormal is the new normal, and the FBI is a joke. It's a meme. It's nothing. We were totally wasting our money on that endeavor, I would have to say. As Hermcure Fuddwaddle says, oh, there will be I told you so's, LOL. Oh yeah, there will be. I think there already are. And everybody's saying hi at Operation Shutdown. It's shutdown time. Operation Shutdown time. All right. That brings us up to speed on all of those. Oh, there's another one. See that? So that's the statement I want to see. I think we should not accept their bogus lie of a statement until we get something more real like this. Something affirming of the truth and admitting when they did something bad. I mean, they knew the Russian collusion hoax was fake. They knew the dossier was fake. They knew that the DNC and Hillary paid for it. They still went ahead with it as if it was true. Got the fake FISA warrants, forged a bunch of papers to make that happen. It's despicable. It's absolutely despicable. But you know what? I can't wait. They're all these lefties are celebrating. Their celebrations last a half a second. Okay, these days, half a second. They were, oh yay, we won. We got Trump's tax returns. But his tax returns only prove that he's not making money off of the government. Whereas, as soon as everybody else's taxes are shown, which I think, following this precedent, I think they should be. I would like to know exactly what offshore banks Nancy Pelosi has. Oh man. Or Skeletor, like we like to call her. I think Mark Dice calls her Skeletor. Oh, whatever happened to Trump Mafia? Remember that guy? You guys remember a guy named Trump Mafia? He made some pretty cool memes. That was cool. Cool days, man. Them were the days, my friends. I was watching a really good show on Badlands Media. Get over there on Rumble. Go to Badlands Media, and they got some great shows there. The Brad and Abby show, I think it was, the Christmas special, was great. They go through the history of, winning our independence. It wasn't easy. And one story was just amazing. The troops were very dejected. It was cold. There was no food. They couldn't get any. The Congress wouldn't send any food. And all hope was lost. And they were starving to death. And so they prayed. They sat there and prayed. And what happened? All of a sudden, it started to get warm. Unseasonably warm. So warm, in fact, that it triggered the migration of these fish, shad fish, up the river and into a little bend, which was right near General Washington's encampment. And they were just bubbling, like boiling. Oh, and it was knee deep right there. and they caught as many fish as they could. They put a bunch in barrels and salted them for future, and nobody went hungry. Their prayers were answered. So I watched Badlands Meeting with Brad Getz and Abby. Yes, great show. Brad is really good. Every show he's involved with is good. He does a show with Red Pill too. Yeah, Dems fought for years to get Trump's tax returns, as people said that they just wanted to leak them. Now that they have them, they have vowed to release them to the public. Big surprise, yeah. Well, there's nothing bad in them, actually. There is nothing bad in them. Although, if you looked, when are the offshore bank accounts going to get leaked? You have to know that Nancy Pelosi and all these people who've made just hundreds of millions of dollars off of their public service. Unreal. It's terrible. And the CIA had a hand in killing Kennedy. So we have to assume they've been in charge ever since, these bad guys, which there's a lot of evidence for that. Boy, but so when you hear any news article talking about a dangerous populist movement, just remember, it's only dangerous if it's led by a bad person. See, that's why they're trying so hard to demonize him. If they can demonize Trump, they can call the whole movement bad. That's their whole thing. It's just a lie. It's just a really, really bad lie, and so few people believe it anymore. It's a testament to the way that we have grabbed a hold of the media and made our own news based on truth, not on lies, and not hiring people from the FBI or the CIA or the DH, whatever, 3 letters you can think of. Department of Homeland Security. It's unbelievable. Get rid of them all and go to open source and be done with it. Just do polls on Twitter. They did a poll on Twitter. Okay, Elon did a poll, and it's what is it? Let me see. Good old Elon did a poll on should we sign the omnibus bill, and it was like 74% said no. And I think that should always be considered the and Zelensky talking before Congress, and they unfurl a big flag with their signatures. Oh, don't forget to send 10% to the big guy. Unbelievable. Yeah, open source is the only way. Remember, David Steele was his first name. He passed away, probably was murdered. Former CIA. He was pushing for open source. He was trying to get Trump to go to an open source CIA. So, you know what, friends? You know what? Yeah, okay, here we go. Here we go, baby. There's a meme for you. Once upon a time, the FBI fought organized crime. Then the FBI became the organized crime. I'd say that's pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. They're just not what they used to be. They used to have so much respect. Not so much anymore. Well, I guess you got to respect them because they're really good liars. They're very good at lying and suppressing. But guess what? If you're worried about the FBI coming to your door, I think we all should do this. You can order this outfit and just always be wearing it, so when they come to your door and you answer it, they'll be all confused. Like, oh, you're already here? Oh yeah, we're taking care of it. Yep, tell them we're already taking care of it. Everything's fine. There you go. Just get the outfit. Maybe not. Maybe you might not want to. Impersonating an FBI officer might be a criminal offense. So you might have to have it say something different. Like F. Biden, imbecile, something like that. I don't know. Yes, we did talk about that. Now, the fact that it was leaked and it was a partial, it's not a complete deposition. It's just the part that would be damaging to Corey when looked at certain ways without proper context. So he was very careful in his words that he used in that legal deposition, because what's at stake here is, so the program he was on at Gaia, and then Gaia, Cosmic Disclosure, made an estimated $300 million for that company. That show brought in that much, or close to that amount. And so Gaia wanted to expand and bring more people in that were just actors. And Corey said, no, this is not good. This is not cool. Oh, the complete one's online now? Okay, I have not seen it. You know, I here's the thing. Is it legal to even do that? Wouldn't it be illegal to make public a legal deposition? I mean, isn't that illegal? I mean, I would think that it would be. I can't imagine it would be legal, but I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Yeah, so maybe we shouldn't get the FBI outfit. You know what? If you just change the B in the I, it would be fib. Fib. I think that would be apropos, because that's all they do is tell fibs. Told a fib, I told a fib, I told FIB. I think it was a mistake by Good's lawyer that allowed it to leak. I don't think Good's lawyer allowed it to leak. You mean the whole one or the partial one? Yeah, you see, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. I just, when I first saw it, I went, this does not seem like it would be legal to put it out there. But let's put it into context, because I used to work at Hasbro and Tonka, and we dealt with intellectual properties, IPs. And, when I was at Tonka Toys paid Lucasfilm $1 million for the rights to make the toys for their upcoming movie Willow, and another animated feature called Cyber that actually never came out. So they paid $1 million just to produce the toys, which Lucasfilm would get a piece of the toys too. So there's a lot of money in all of this. And so they're trying to trip Corey up by some of these questions so they can deem him crazy, so they can take his IP from him. That's what they're trying to do. That's in my opinion. So he can't say that he met an 8-foot tall bird person. Well, he's under oath, or they could deem that he is crazy. So I think that is why that he said that the way he said it, and he kept referring to his story because these other people who've come along and gleaned from his story. Were they involved in the same thing? I don't know, but probably not, because Corey said he had different names for everything, and when someone LARPer came along and they used one of the names he used, like Dark Fleet, they weren't really the Dark Fleet. That's just what Corey was calling them. So when someone came forward, and if they knew the real name of it, then they were real insiders, like William Tompkins was a real insider. Other people aren't, according to Corey. Yeah, in the deposition, Corey admits to making up parts of his story. He has to do that, because if he said that he met an 8-foot tall blue bird person, they would institutionalize him, drug him up, and take his IP. That's what they're trying to do. So he can't say that in this deposition. The fact that they leaked this deposition, they're doing it to try to damage him so they can steal his story through these other people that they've placed with similar stories. Well, yeah, that's your opinion. Well, look, he was part of a very popular weekly show on Gaia TV with David Wilcock. And that people were quitting their Netflix and joining Gaia because of that show. And they had tremendous growth. And, when you're doing a show every week, maybe he had a dream and, maybe it did happen, because who knows? I don't know. Maybe some of it was fabricated. Yes, Andy did. Yes, and I trust Andy's judgment on most things. Not on everything. You can't trust anybody on everything because nobody knows everything. So, and he said his PTSD is from his childhood. Now, he has admitted in his testimony on the show, on many shows, that he did have a troubled background. And he said that these programs look for kids who have been in rough families. because they're easier to control, which makes sense. Well, but Operation Shutdown, yeah, the thing is, in a deposition like that, when they're trying to trip him up and steal his IP and put their own LARPers in there, he can't say that. He can't say what he may have actually experienced. So I don't know. Yeah. I guess you're going to take everybody's testimony with a grain of salt. However, I still, and here's another thing. Corey Goode did bring forward formerly classified documents from the military. Someone in the military thought enough of him and his story and his connections to trust him to bring it forward to the public. And that's been totally verified. That is true. So you have to remember now, so it took 66 years to go from the moon, from the first flight of Keyhawk to landing on the moon. Okay, from 1969 to now, that's over 50 years. So what have we done since that? They haven't told us, because they're just trying to maintain their power, which we've seen plenty of examples of, like the FBI lying and controlling narratives. Yeah. It's like, who do you believe? I believe Andy, because Andy has a bunch of witnesses. And I tend to believe most of Corey's story because of William Tompkins's testimony, which really coincided with Corey's. Yes, I will agree with you there. A whistleblower should never blend science fiction with supposed real testimony, in my opinion. I agree. But I also don't know if any of us has ever been in the position where you have a hit TV show and it's dependent on, wild stories. Now, he claims that he was on this for most of his stint for the first part of his stint in the secret space program. He was in this research vessel, and he said it was really boring. A lot of times you just sit around looking at the smart glass pad, and that's where he learned all this stuff. That's where he learned about the inner Earth people. So was he meditating, trying to connect with the inner Earth people? Was that all his imagination? Was some of it real? I don't know. I honestly just don't know. But if you want to call in and talk about it. Oh, I think there's some in between there, because I think there are several secret space programs. And in fact, that is part of Corey's testimony, is there are several secret space programs. Like there's the low-level MIC, Military Industrial Complex secret space program, where they're about 50 years ahead of current technology, and they have a rotating space station. But there's ones above that are even higher classification. And if one of the people in this 50 years ahead of us space station sees a more advanced ship from another secret space program department, hey Captain, look at that thing over there. Was that an enemy craft? What is that? Oh no, that's an experimental craft. Don't talk about it. You're not supposed to see it. Their cloaking must not be working. So they make excuses, and it was extremely compartmentalized. And each secret space program, they told the people they were the top of the spear. This is the best technology in the world. But yet there was always another one above it, and then one above that. So that if they ever do have to reveal, the people have found out, we better disclose. Then they'll disclose the MIC secret space program, which is only 50 years ahead of our current technology, while still keeping the clandestine, much more advanced group secret still, and able to empower these people however they are empowered. Yeah, I can't believe they would actually sell a FBI outfit like that, huh? Wouldn't that be illegal? I guess maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. So call in and talk about it if you want to talk about it. It's an interesting thing to talk about. You know, how much of it's real? How would we know? Guess we get the chronovisor, we can find out exactly what part of it's real, right? That's why I keep telling Andy, like, we got to get the chronovisor. We could solve every case in the world. We could go back to the JFK assassination. We could follow those people around and record everything they said, which they probably did. Maybe that's part of the file. The chronovisor footage. Also, Al Bielek, way before Corey, made a claim of being age regressed and placed backwards in time. Yeah. Yeah, and everybody who doubts people who say stuff like that say, well, how do you do it? Well, they probably weren't the scientists. They were just the subjects. Like Andy, he was a kid in Project Pegasus, and people expect him to know the physics of what was happening. No, he wasn't a physicist. He worked with the nation's top physicists at Los Alamos and other places, Sandia. And with all the top people. So there you go. There's the call in. You know what? Maybe it's time that it is time, folks. We're going to take a little commercial break here, right? We're going to take a commercial break. And you know what? As you get older, there's things that happen to your body that people should be aware of. People should be aware of. And here's a product that could help you if you are like some of the people in my age group, where something that was never a problem before, all of a sudden is a big problem. What are we talking about? Those unsightly nose hairs. Yes. Here's Epimanly.
Epimanly, for the well-groomed man of the 90s. Epimanly gently removes unsightly nose hairs, and because Epimanly takes the hair from the root, you can go longer between trimmings. Epimanly's patented lift and yank action gently lifts and yanks the hair from the root. Epimanly's turbine rotary blades cast a gentle breeze over your face. Epimanly, for the well-groomed man of the 90s. Sold at fine stores everywhere.
Epimanly.
Epimanly. Epimanly, for the well-groomed man of the 90s.
Introducing the amazing state-of-the-art Invisimask.
And about ready to walk into the big box store. No thanks, I have the Invisimask on. Thank you. And the best thing about the Invisimask is you have the confidence to go out and do the things you always like to do without the cumbersome mask being on. Oh, I have the Invisimask on. Can't you see? Oh, silly me. You can't see it. I have the Invisimask on, though. Totally covered. Thank you.
Introducing the amazing, high-tech Invisimask. Yes, we've used advanced nanotechnology and we developed a completely invisible mask that works with your immune system. It allows you to breathe in and breathe out with no obstruction, keeping you healthy and safe. Now you can go out in confidence into public wearing your Invisimask. And when they say, "Where's your mask?" you can say, "Ha ha ha, I've got the Invisimask on. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. And shine 'em your beautiful smile, because that's what it's all about. Smiling." Thank you very much. And by the way, we've teleported one to everyone's face. You already have one. So go out and enjoy your Invisimask and live as a free human as it was meant to be. God bless. Yeah. How do you like that? The Invisimask could have made a fortune. Oh, look, we've got a caller. It's our good friend, Austin Morris. Welcome to the program, Austin.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. Good to be here. I just called in. I kind of upset to hear that Corey Good's in the trouble he's in with the court thing and everything. I haven't really kept up with it to know all the details, but that graphic novel of his, the Ascension Chronicles Spheres of Influence book, was probably the best book of its kind I've ever seen, which is why I hate to see Corey Good in trouble now. But
well,
you see, if you really, really, really believe this story, then you would expect the bad guys to have some strategy to deal with him, which is why I'm a little suspicious. I'm a little suspicious of both sides. I mean, he could be quite an imaginative person who's embroidered his story considerably. He could be that, and of course, details could be taken directly from Star Trek. He could be doing that. You have to be. You see, you really have to go. You have to go where evidence leads you, and unfortunately, an awful lot of the secret space program, what you have is what somebody said.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a whole lot of correlative evidence to go with it.
Right.
That's a dilemma with all of these issues. If you want to play skeptic, the problem with skepticism is that it just comes down to being a big loud no to everything. And I know from personal experience that skepticism is wrong here. That there is a phenomenon. There are UFOs. There probably are aliens out there, certainly. But all of these narratives and dramas, you have to take with a grain of salt, unfortunately.
Well, I think everything's like that. But I have also interviewed Steven Cefalo, who's the artist, the main artist that drew that novel. He was the one that painted portrait every picture, and he did have some help towards the end, but it was a very long project. And he told me, I think this is actually in one of my interviews with him, that he doesn't have any stake in this story. He thinks it's an interesting story. He's not getting involved in whether it's true or not. It was a job that he was interested in doing, and he wanted to get back into illustrating. And he said that at one of the panels, it had a couple of the different aliens. And then Corey they were talking about this page, and Corey said, maybe we should add this other group in there too at this point of the book. He goes, and he told Stephen, he said, they really didn't show up till later, but I think it would be better to introduce them sooner, so it's not such a surprise later. So that impressed Stephen, because if it was all just made up, why would he even say that? You know, why would he have to quantify that or qualify that? I don't know. So that was one little clue that told Stephen, who was very critical, that, hey, this might be true. Because if it's all just made up, why would he say, oh, I didn't really meet them until later, but it'd be better to introduce them earlier in the story so that it's not such a surprise, or it would just be a better product to have them earlier with these other groups. So that was interesting, I thought.
Yeah, my concern now is, of course, I enjoyed this Spheres of Influence Ascension Chronicles book. I enjoyed it very much, and I'm concerned now there's not going to be a volume 2 or any subsequent things. That
no,
this has put a real damper on that.
They're actually working on a movie and a TV show. And actually, they're also working on, and they got some interest with some big producers on a documentary about all the crap that he's been put through by the community, relentlessly attacking him, and to the point where he has to sue him.
Yeah, I've noticed a problem, a real one problem. It's not so much Corey Goode as some of his critics are not behaving very rationally or very fairly.
Right, exactly.
A certain commenter who has a webcast 3 times a week. He's on with his friend, this lady psychic, and he was chortling. He was delighted at Corey Goode's problems in court, as proving that Corey Goode was some kind of liar. But his friend, the lady psychic, who shares this webcast with him, she said nothing supportive of Corey Goode. She evidently didn't know who that was, but her account of the secret space program basically correlates with what Corey Goode says.
Right.
I mean, it's that absurd contradiction struck me very strongly. That a lot of the people criticizing him don't really know what it is they're criticizing. Right.
It was that Mormon guy. Is that who you're talking about?
Oh, I guess I might as well name names. It's Mike Barra.
Oh, Mike Barra. Okay.
He's on with this psychic lady, Jennifer Fallow Daring, and they have a webcast 3 times a week together, and she gives her little psychic messages and things, and she's given her own account of the secret space program based on her contacts with some kind of ascended intelligent beings, and it basically correlates with a lot of what Corey Goode has said. She says that there are 27 nations that have people on the moon right now, on the lunar base, she said. And she talked about how there are human beings on Mars right now.
I wouldn't doubt
that. Well, all that pretty much goes together with the sort of thing that Corey Goode has been saying. Yet Mike Barra is very, very rude about Corey Goode. Very, very says nasty things about him. Just doesn't like him. Doesn't approve of any part of his story or think that any of it is true. So I just see an oddity there, that people who pretty much believe the same thing act as if they don't. I mean, there's not. It's like the different people are all talking but not communicating.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. They're trying to discredit him, while at the same time they have these operatives with similar stories trying to convince everyone they're telling the truth. Don't believe him, believe me.
My point being that I'm not sure that these other voices are necessarily shills and operatives. It's whatever the secret space program is. If Mr. Goode is to be taken seriously, I mean, mile-long ships and thousands of people. That's a lot of different narratives and different perspectives of the same thing, and we would expect them to come together at some point with an agreement of some kind. You expect that to happen.
Well, have you read Selected by Extraterrestrials by William Tompkins?
That's that's an example of the chaos of my own life. I have volume 2 of that.
Okay.
Handy, which has got some neat illustrations in it. I mean, it's a good book. It would make a whole lot more sense to me if I had volume 1, and I can remember buying volume 1, and I'm sure volume 1 is around here somewhere.
Okay. Yeah,
in
here's
a box.
volume 1 and volume 2 together. Volume 1 is much more voluminous. It's more pages.
Yeah, I'm sure I've got that book somewhere, but in my cathedral of clutter here, I'll have a lot of luck finding it, I guess.
Cathedral of Clutter. Oh,
yeah.
Are you using, wait a minute.
Domain of dirt and dog hair, my cathedral of clutter, my citadel of incompetence.
I bet you are using the same organizing technique I'm using. I'm using a very unique technique for my organizing. I use gravity. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that sort of describes me. I organize books by putting them in boxes, and that's the good news. That's the good part.
Oh yeah?
That's the good news. I've got them in boxes.
Okay.
The bad news, I mean, it's like at Sam's Club, you can buy Ritz crackers in a box that's sized perfectly for holding your DVDs.
Oh.
It's sized perfectly for holding a big stack of DVDs, so I've got old Ritz cracker boxes with DVDs in them, but I've no idea which DVD is in which box, and the boxes all look identical.
Oh no!
So, if I'm going to watch a DVD, it's random selection. It's not planning.
Well,
and the William Tompkins book, Volume 1, I can vaguely remember that I purchased it, so
yeah,
I have it here somewhere.
It's a
but
really
I've got
good
Volume 2. I know exactly where that is, and I can find it in a minute.
Okay. And so here are some of the rockets that are in here. And he talks about...
Yeah, he talks a lot about these large rockets that they had planned in the early 60s, and I can remember that.
The Nova rocket.
There was the NASA had a program called Nova, which was supposed to be the successor to the Saturn V, a big rocket, because they assumed an underlying basic assumption that the space race would continue to extend to Mars.
Sure.
The public space race with the Soviet Union. The Soviets were going to build a big rocket similar to Saturn V to race us to the moon.
There's the Nova rockets.
So there were the various aerospace companies had their own little kind of like the Lockheed Skunk Works, their own little what they called Tiger teams in those days of their hotshot engineers turning out paper plans for the biggest damn rockets you could possibly imagine to get us a leg up on the race to Mars. And of course, nothing came of that other than these paper plans. Well, William Tompkins spends a good deal of time on discussing this in his book, which I appreciate. I can remember those days, and it brings me back to the day. I like that. But that's not really what the secret space program's all about now, is it?
Well,
that's more like a diversion, because those big rockets were never built.
Or were they? Or were they?
Yeah,
or were they?
When the Saturn V was launched, it created an enormous noise and a seismic event that you could detect on seismographs. It was such a powerful machine. And the Nova rockets that they had on paper would have been 10 times as powerful. So there's not a way in the world that could be done in secret, I don't think. Well, with a possible exception, I did enjoy very much the Apollo 20 story, which is a little far-fetched, but it would involve sending up a Saturn V in secret.
Well, I think they could do it. I think they could do it. They could launch them from California, or they could launch them from Antarctica.
Yeah, the story of the Apollo 20 it was supposedly from Vandenberg Air Force Base, and there was a cover story that it was an Air Force satellite launching.
Right. Yeah, they can always make things up. Here is the sketch that William did proposing to build rockets vertically in this air-conditioned building that he also designed. And that's the way they build rockets. But Elon Musk
you can still go to the vehicle assembly building. It's on the tourist tour of Cape Canaveral.
Yeah, he designed all that. And he even designed the room where all the scientists watch all the data coming in on the big screens. He designed that room too.
But with the secret space program, the real secret here would have to be something that succeeds rockets, something that makes rockets as obsolete as ox carts. And
Right.
that's anti-gravity, or what we would call anti-gravity. Now, I don't know that there is such a thing as anti-gravity, but that's kind of a generic label you can put on whatever it is that they're using.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Yeah.
story, the secret space program accounts, it intrigues me, and I want to find out more, but I run into the same barriers of it becomes he said, she said, somebody said with no correlative evidence. The Dark Fleet book by Lynn Kasten, published I think 3 years ago, has an account in it saying that Nazi Germany landed a man on the moon in 1945.
Right.
And it gives details, including the name of who this guy was, supposedly a German Navy officer.
That's interesting. This right here is a rotating space station built in space using spent empty rockets, parts assembled together. And it's a working space station, and this was the plans that William Tompkins knew about, and that is the essence of the MIC secret space program. That's their rotating thing. And here's
all that is very plausible, but remember one thing: space is transparent. I mean, if you talk about like secret bases under the ocean, secret bases on the ocean bottom, that's it's plausible that could be kept secret because nobody would ever see it. But outer space is transparent, so what's out there is going to be seen by somebody.
I think
that somebody may not be believed, but somebody will see something.
This is something that William Tompkins saw on a monitor when he was in the underground secret facility that he also designed, that got all the information from the Apollo landing before it was given to the public. And they said, don't show that. There was 2 minutes where it was blank. You couldn't see anything. And the ham radio operators, over 100 of them, recorded it. So we've known what they said. Oh my God, sir, they're huge. They're hovering over the edge of the crater, watching us. You can't believe how big they are. I know, stop pointing your camera at them. And they were trying to tell him to stop. But this is what he saw. This is what they saw on the moon when they landed there. 6 giant craft watching them. And so I think that is absolutely amazing. It correlates with what was said by those ham radio operators. You can find that anywhere on the internet. And I think William Tompkins coming forward was absolutely huge. And the second book is really a rehash of the first book with only a few different little added things. And there's a third book out now too, I guess.
Oh, now that I have not heard of. I've not kept up. I'll need to get that so I can lose that one too.
But the second one is a watered down version of this one. And there's so many questions about the second one, like this picture on the cover. Is that his sketch? No one knows. It was in his stuff, but he usually didn't do finished renderings like that. He just did sketches. So that will always remain a secret unless his wife will talk. And on the back, there's this picture that I question. He claims that it's Draco ships that were caught by someone taking a picture. I think it looks like a damaged negative or something that happened in the dark room.
Well, you get a lot of that if you're if you're ever going to keep up with UFOs. You'll get a lot of things like that.
Yeah, it just, I don't know.
I don't think the Draco ships are going to be that that visible to us. They're not going to show off to us. They probably have cloaking technology or some such.
He did say that, but he thought that maybe the cloaking came off during this. But I just think it just looks, to me, it looks like a photographic error or some kind of accident happened, dropped something and it scuffed either the print or the...
Yep, stuff like that happens. But,
yeah.
Back to the subject of anti-gravity.
Okay.
I mean, we're supposed to believe that the Nazis, that the Germans had some guy land on the moon back during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, so you have to postulate that whatever the anti-gravity technology is, it's something that could have been built with the technology of the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Now that it's interesting to see some of the reconstructions of what this supposedly was, because there's actually been a model kit of what's called the Honnebu,
Mm-hmm.
which was the flying saucer the Germans allegedly built, which looks a whole lot like George Adamski's flying saucer of the 50s.
Yes, it does.
It looks like a twin of it almost.
Mm-hmm.
The Honnebu, there have actually been model kits that are like cutaway view model kits showing you all the inside parts,
Mm-hmm.
which for a secret technology is kind of unsecret.
Yeah.
Now you've got to have technology in the 40s that could do that, and allegedly something was built. This so-called, let's see, what were they calling it? A gadget that was built at a secret facility in Poland, and it had some kind of electrically charged torus of rotating mercury metal,
Mm-hmm.
mercury mixed with something else that produced some kind of lethal radiation, but it had anti-gravity effects. Supposedly it's about the most toxic and least safe way to try to build a flying saucer, and that's the way they found.
Okay.
Leave it to them to find the worst method. But anyway, allegedly they had a spacecraft that could take a man to the moon. Well, I figure a thing like that, as secret as that must have been, you're never going to find direct evidence for it. So what do you look for indirect evidence? Are there other aspects of space technology which could be found in the history of the 40s? And there are a few. There's quite a bit of work was done by amateurs in various countries. The British Interplanetary Society did a full scale kind of theoretical design study before the war, just right before the war, immediately before the war. They published their own study on how to get to the moon with a rocket ship.
Mm-hmm.
And their study included a design for a spacesuit. And actually, in recent years, some enthusiasts in Britain have built a replica of this spacesuit design for walking on the moon, 1939 circa spacesuit, using materials that would have been available at that time. Of course, it's an extremely inefficient, uncomfortable, and clumsy spacesuit, but it's a spacesuit. It would function. So it's kind of doable. But the thing that intrigued me was the idea that, okay, the Germans building this saucer and doing a deep space voyage of some kind. The saucer has to have a life support system. And a life support system has to be a closed cycle life support system. It can't be an open cycle. Open cycle is what you have in pressurized aircraft, where the air is coming from outside the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do that in outer space because there's no air outside. So it's got to have a way to remove carbon dioxide and keep temperature under control and keep humidity under control. It has to have some sort of air conditioning with a carbon dioxide scrubber.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I read somewhere that the German, at the advanced U-boats the Germans were building right at the end of the war, had air conditioning.
Right.
Well, did this air conditioning extend to a carbon dioxide control system? Did it go? Were they that advanced in their submarine designs? Because in Lynn Kasten's book, the German guy who goes to the moon is a naval officer. He's not really a swastika-wearing Nazi. He's just a naval officer, but he does this allegedly, according to Lynn Kasten.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what Lynn Kasten's sources of information are that he can say that and be so specific. But
Mm-hmm.
see, it occurred to me that if you've got anti-gravity technology, you don't have to worry so much about what it weighs or what its bulk is.
Right.
So maybe whatever carbon dioxide scrubber they had for their submarine could have been adapted to this Honebu machine that gives them space travel.
Mm-hmm.
The two could be put together, maybe. But I'd like to see some more information about the life support system that was on that submarine, and I can't find anything about that that's very specific.
Right.
But one of those Type 21 U-boats is in a museum in Germany, one of the German port cities on the I can't remember if it's Baltic or North Sea, but they've got an old Type 21 U-boat there on display. It's pretty spectacular because it was an advanced design for its time, and you wouldn't, if you saw it, you wouldn't immediately identify it as being World War II era technology. You'd think it was more recent than that because it was a streamlined form submarine.
Right. It was a beautiful submarine, yes. And if they can survive miles under the water, they could survive in space. I'm sure they had an air system that could definitely do that.
Yeah, I'd just like to see some confirmation of that before I go down the rabbit hole of saying the Nazis had a space program.
Well,
going that far, I'd like to have more details nailed down.
They clearly could have it. And if you read William Tompkins's testimony, he talks about how these embedded German spies, American spies in the German Army and Air Force, they were coming back and giving testimony and bringing back papers and pictures of these strange craft they were building, and this anti-gravity, and some pamphlets written in alien language. And the brass wasn't believing it, but they kept coming with more and more stuff, and they went, well, I guess we better see if we can try to catch up. And that's what William did. He took this information, and one of the things that we got after World War II was something that the Nazis apparently found out about. They found out that the Thule Society were this group of people who were having these dreams, getting instructions on how to build a giant spacecraft. And they were hocking their houses and buying all this metal, and they were all kind of working towards this goal. And the Nazis took them over, put them underground into a base and said, make them for us. It wasn't going so well, so they decided to let them just do it on their own, but they'll be monitored. And so there was like over 1,000 people in that base, I think, or 1,400 people or something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but William said that we got those people. So our secret space program people, our space program people, had access to what they were developing from their dreams. So they had crashed retrieval parts, they had testimony, and they had these people they could glean information from. And secretaries that would telepathically tell them how it's done. So they wanted us to be in space, apparently, if you believe William Tompkins' story. It's quite remarkable. And he's got the Navy's permission to bring this forward. And on the screen, I just did a quick search of anti-gravity magazines, because in the 50s, there was all kinds of articles about anti-gravity. A lot of universities were working on it. And then at one point, They were making really great strides, and all of a sudden, oops, now that the government took everything over. So that would have been a prime time for them to begin developing this anti-gravity technology in total secret, now that the public can't talk about it anymore. It's pretty amazing how during the 50s there was all kinds of excitement about this, and all of a sudden it just completely disappeared. No one asked any questions about it.
Yes, one of the things shown there is The Secrets of Anti-Gravity Propulsion by Paul Laviolette. Now that's kind of a textbook on the subject. It was published back in the early 2000s or late 1990s. I can't remember exactly when, but it's Secret. That's it. You've got your cursor on it now.
Yeah.
Secrets of Anti-Gravity Propulsion, Paul A. Laviolette, PhD. It's kind of the one-stop go-to book on some but not all of the anti-gravity concepts. Laviolette has his own physics theory called subquantum kinetics, which he believes is a better theory than what they teach in physics, what they teach in college physics. So he's gone down quite a.
I always, it's always a chore to do different types of chores around the house, but I find that cleaning the ceiling is a lot easier when I just strap on my anti-gravity boots. I can go up there and mop the ceiling. It's awfully nice.
Yeah, Paul A. Laviolette believes that's doable. Believes that can be done, and he wrote also a paper where he tried to establish that the B-1 stealth bomber aircraft, the B-1 Spirit, uses a form of anti-gravity technology.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I bet you they all do. Yeah, why
to
wouldn't
extend the range of the airplane. This is not necessarily all about spaceships or that type of technology. It could be made.
Now, you probably read The Day After Roswell by Colonel Philip J. Corso, which
long time ago. Yes.
Yeah, I think that is the disclosure book. I interviewed his son on my other show years ago, Phil Corso Jr., and he said that he builds the highest technology airplanes that are non-military in the world. He builds in his Florida airplane factory. And he said his dad would come in and he'd point under the nose, like behind where the wheel is. He goes, right here is where the anti-gravity unit would go. Then he'd walk out. It's like, okay, Dad. All right. So yeah, I think they do have that.
Well, the most interesting thing I've come across in recent years is from David Alzafon. He wrote 2 books. David Alzafon is the son of a scientist named, a mathematician, and named Frederick Alzafon, who published a theory about how to create an anti-gravity propulsion. And David Alzafon, Frederick Alzafon passed away in 2012. David Alzafon is his son, who is honoring his father's legacy by writing these 2 books. One of them essentially trying to sell the idea to get something started to build an Alzafon space drive, and then the second book is all about UFOs. The second David Alzafon book, his premise is that the best model that he's come across for explaining UFO flight characteristics is his father's theory about how to create this type of propulsion. But it's not exactly the same thing as anti-gravity. Alzafon's ideas were very unique. Alzafon believed that you could use microwaves to affect nuclear resonance at the nucleus level of matter to basically remove the effect of mass.
Mm-hmm.
That mass would basically be a kind of energy, like heat energy. Just as you can cool things down, you could reduce mass of an object
Mm-hmm.
while this machine is turned on, and then the ambient mass comes back when it's turned off. But you could render a vehicle massless, and then use a propulsion system that would have relatively low thrust to send it off on its way.
Right.
And David Alzafon's second book was taking known UFO cases and establishing how the flight characteristics the witnesses saw match up with his father's ideas about this type of propulsion.
Interesting.
The top 10 UFO secrets revealed by David Alzafon, or top 10 UFO mysteries by David Alzafon, is the name of it. It's recently published, but it's one of those kind of printed to order kind of things. You're not going to find it in a bookstore.
Top 10. What was that? Top 10.
Top 10 UFO mystery or something like that. But the author's name, David, David, then Alzafon, Alzofon, Alzafon. David Alzafon. It was on Amazon as of last year.
I think I spelled his name wrong.
Alzofon, Alzafon.
Oh, I put PH.
Spelled exactly how it's pronounced.
I put PH. Oh. Yodeling pickle. That's not it. It's not coming up.
But just Alzafon UFO would probably give you a result.
Well, let's see.
Alzafon published an abstracted version of his paper in the MUFON Journal in the 1980s. He got a bit of attention in those days, but supposedly people from the government would approach him, but they did not. The thing about Alzafon's theories, no one ever found a flaw in his math, which gave it great credibility in some quarters. So he was approached by government people, but they told him that he would have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and he wouldn't do that ever.
Mm-hmm.
His idea, he wanted to put together a company and build something and do something, but he could never get financial backing. And you have a chicken and egg problem here.
Right.
You have to build it in order to sell it, but you can't sell it unless you have it built. You can't build it unless you have backers who you've sold it to.
I've run into that problem myself with my best-selling product, the Supercube. When I first got going years ago, I was trying to find funding, and so I came across this guy. He was a philanthropist, and he said, "Well, before I invest in this, I want to see if these actually sell." I said, "Well, come with me, and you can watch them get sold." And we went out, sold a bunch of them. And he goes, "Oh, this is really good." And he goes, "Yeah, but it's not really big enough for me to invest in." It's like, that's the whole point. You got to get in at the bottom level. I don't know, man. I would make as many cases as I could, go out and then sell them all, come back, and then make more the next day. And one of my stores sold 101 in one day. But with all of that small time success wasn't enough to make anyone interested. They wanted already to be a big smash hit before they're going to invest in it, which is really, really annoying. You know, when you have, it's just a scale up thing. You scale it up. Unbelievable.
Yeah, annoyance and frustration is kind of what you're in for if you're into UFOs. I see an example on the screen right there. The Anti-Gravity Handbook was edited by David Hatcher Childress.
Right.
He appears on the Ancient Aliens show, and
Yeah.
I like David Hatcher Childress. I'm not saying this to necessarily badmouth him or denigrate him, but he also has a book out about the Haunebu, the alleged Nazi flying saucer, the Haunebu. And it's a very well produced book. It's got lots of color illustrations, which really knock my socks off. I like any book like that that's got color illustrations in it. So so I could recommend it for that reason. But the questions I was asking about the technology, whether the technology of the time was up to the level of something where they could build a spacecraft, he doesn't address those issues at all. And that simple question about the life support maybe being adapted from their advanced submarines, that's an obvious question to ask, but David Hatcher Childress doesn't ask it. There's nothing in that book that would help you if you were trying to look deeper into that subject.
You know, that's what really motivated me to start my other show years ago, Aaron's UFO show on Blog Talk Radio, was because people weren't asking the questions I wanted to ask. So I wanted to ask these people questions. So that was my whole motivation to start this whole thing. Because I have questions.
I do find it frustrating when there's something that needs to be asked that's pretty obvious and nobody seems to think of it. You know, that's why I appreciate being able to call in and blab a little here.
Well, we love it. We love it when you call in, and we have another guest that we love when he calls in. Propagate This Light. So let's all welcome Propagate This Light to the program.
Yay! Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Oh, good to meet you.
Hey, same here. Happy holidays to everybody. Yep.
Doing good. I missed your live the other day. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, the one with My Life DIY?
Yeah. I got a question about My Life. Is that your wife?
That's a good one. She might hear this.
I'm sure she will.
No. She's somebody else's wife.
Oh, okay. But I mean, that might be a name that a woman would want someone to call her if, you know.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So her name actually references her channel, and she does the DUI stuff. Like she grows plants and she raises things, you know. So it's like a DUI channel. So it's just My Life DUI.
What does she grow?
I can't think of offhand. She shows moments with her family, you know, and just stuff that she does around the house. She doesn't grow. Let me just take that back. She raises chickens.
Okay.
So she has that on her channel as well. So she kind of like teaches people how to do this and that. Just give them like a play-by-play on how she goes about it. And that's the name of her YouTube channel, My Life. Okay. My Life, because she's showing scenes of her life. You know, My Life DUI. Yeah.
So, as I wasn't sure, I thought, well, maybe that's his term of endearment to his honey there. But now you've explained that, so it's a cool name though. My Life. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Yeah. How you been?
Good. Has there been any more Mandela effects that you've noticed?
No, not that I've noticed. I was just reading the chat. Hi, Mud Rabbit and Peggy Dancer. And Peggy says that she enjoyed my show last night. I appreciate that.
Awesome. That's
awesome. I haven't.
Check out Propagate's channel. Yeah. Go ahead.
Right. I do have a stream that I just uploaded. Do you mind if I post it?
Go ahead.
Okay, so this will be the one I just uploaded, and I think y'all might like that.
Okay.
Some of y'all probably seen it already. Not sure, but it's in the chat right now. And so you and Austin was talking about UFO, right?
Yeah. Have you ever seen a UFO, Prop?
I was followed by one.
Awesome.
That would be a bit ominous. You have to ask yourself why. Oh Lord.
Good night, Mud Rabbit.
I don't want to look behind myself and find that behind me.
I know. Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't directly behind me. It was in the sky, but I knew it was following me. I was in a vehicle traveling. So just to give more context. And just to give a little bit more to it, when I finally parked and went home, I just went grocery shopping. And so I went to the back trunk to get the groceries out. I turned around, and the craft that was following us was literally like close encounter.
Wow.
How close? How much detail? Did you see much detail?
Yes, definitely. I did. And there was buildings, and it was over the top of the roof of the building. So if you were standing on the building and you reached up, you'll probably be able to touch the bottom of it. That's how close it was.
Wow.
Yeah, but I did see detail. Yeah.
What'd you see?
It was a round craft, and it had windows going around it, and they had a red light that blinked that was on the top of it.
Okay.
And then some other stuff happened within that experience, but as far as detail, it took me a whole week to recall that there were beings standing in the windows looking directly at us.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting. You should do a drawing of it. Have you done a drawing of it?
I can't draw. I can't draw. I haven't been good at drawing.
I have the same kind of problem.
Well, you might want to try something that the kids love to do when I was teaching daycare. This is one of their favorite things to do. And if you can't draw with your hands, use your toes. We tape the paper down on the floor, and we take off our shoes and socks and put the pencils, pens, or whatever between our toes, and we draw with our feet. And it was a lot of fun. So, and you get some crazy looking things too. So you might surprise yourself. Maybe you're good at drawing with your feet. You never tried.
Right. Yeah.
So, something to look forward to.
I've seen UFOs on 2 occasions. Each occasion, I pointed up at the sky and said, "Look at that, look at that, look at that," to my friends. And my friends all looked at me. They didn't look up.
Oh, boy. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's how my experience was. I was with people, and I was like, "What's that?" And it was in the sky. It just didn't look right. It didn't look like anything that's usually up there, you know? And then, yeah. That was a long time ago. But, yeah. Believe it or not, that's what happened.
Well, these occasions when an object's been seen and some detail has been seen on it, that's the sort of thing David Alzafon was collecting for his book, because he has very specific ideas about how the thing works based on his father's work. And so he would apply that what he thinks is his knowledge to what people see, and that's what made this David Alzafon book so interesting.
Yeah, you just reminded me there's a detail about the lights. The lights are different on this craft than any other craft that I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah?
They had some different lights on there. Yeah. You know, they were like strobing type thing. Yeah.
Interesting. And you were driving, so you probably couldn't get a picture of it, huh?
Yeah, I think this was before cell phones.
Oh,
This is how far back it went. I didn't have a cell phone at the time.
right. Yeah, I didn't have one when I saw one either. Actually, I did when I saw one with someone else, but the first time I had a handy cam. It was 1996, but it powered up and then powered down. Didn't get any footage of the craft that I saw in the daylight. Silver craft darting around, crazy. And it was that craft there, exactly like it.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
We've all seen them. That's probably why we're all talking to each other here. Aliens probably wanted us to talk. Hey, maybe get these three together. We need to
But
talk.
didn't you have like a model of it? I remember you showed it one time.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, the Tester's model. That I remember when that came out, but I could have bought one and I didn't.
I got two of them. One of them I had silver, one I kept clear.
Yeah, you're lucky. Yeah, that's based on let's see, what's his name?
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar. Yeah, the Bob Lazar. So what he was calling the sports model.
Mm-hmm. You can see
You
it.
made. You made that, huh?
Well, it wasn't very many parts. And it's only got one of the gravity generators. The other one's broke off. I gotta glue them back on. I gotta take it apart and fix it. But he said that when he went, he couldn't fit all the way under there, but when he like reached under there, he could move these things. He said they were like bendable metal, like you could bend it.
Well, is that, you mean the gadgets inside the
gravity generators?
Gravity generators. What he was calling gravity generators. David Alzafon has comments on that as well.
Yeah. And one guy did a nice computerized study of this, and he found out that these angles here on the bottom correspond with the rotating of the gravity generators. So it's very well designed for that. So in the model, they're finding this guy found something that might actually help to corroborate that this was not just made up. There's actually, you see, there's form to the bottom, and those bulges, that main bulge in the middle there, accommodates the movement of the gravity wave generator, so it's always the same distance apart away from the outer shell of the vehicle. So
it reminds me also something that was in, it might have been in La Violette's book. Supposedly some whistleblower said that you can tell the difference between our saucers and their saucers. Our saucers are the ones that have rivets.
Yeah, and cracks. There's a crack right there. I dropped it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you still, it could still be authentic. It could be one of Frank Scully's saucers.
Yeah.
We're all crashed.
And the shape of this right here, oh my goodness, this is really dusty, folks. Yeah. Be able to plant some vegetables on that thing. But you see these little arcs that are here? He said that when one of the panels was activated, one of these areas would be clear and you could see through it. I don't know if they could all get clear, but they went ahead and just made them all like that.
Kind of like Wonder Woman's airplane.
Yeah, invisible. Yes.
Of course, Lazar, I think that model kit came with a booklet that outlined Lazar's explanations of how the thing worked, how the gravity control system worked on it. Bob Lazar had said there were basically two kinds of gravity.
Right. Gravity A wave and gravity B wave.
Yeah, gravity A and gravity B, and it was a bit complicated and didn't really agree with anything you'll find in a physics text, but Bob Lazar has stood behind his story over the years. He hasn't backed off of this, despite various insults by skeptics.
Right.
Now, David Alzafon, writing about the same story, had a different explanation for it based on his father's work.
Oh yeah.
Alzafon, of course, the Alzafon space drive. You have this device that reduces mass. You turn it on, and the object's shell, the outer structure, loses its mass, gets a zero mass, which means it gets zero resistance to motion. So then you need a second system to drive it, to make it, to motivate it to move. So his explanation was he thought the so-called gravity generators were really just big old electromagnets.
No.
And the saucer would reduce its mass down to zero, and then use those magnets to propel itself along on magnetic field lines, just interacting with ambient magnetism. And that was Alzafon's notion of how the Bob Lazar sports model really worked. And those weren't really gravity generators at all in his view. I found it intriguing because it's you expect somebody's going to disagree with Bob Lazar. You expect them to just be like these skeptics who call him a liar. You don't expect somebody to just present a slightly different interpretation of the same data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes through. There's some interesting footnotes in here, and there was also a separate booklet as well. This is just the instruction manual, but there's a lot of little tidbits in here.
Well, I think Bob Lazar has also said that that facility, the so-called S4 facility, the underground facility he worked at, they had a live alien there in captivity.
Yeah.
That story's popped up from time to time. There was even this movie called Paul, which had a little gray guy who escaped from Area 51.
Now, do you remember the alien interview footage of someone who's claimed that they leaked footage from somewhere in Area 51 of that alien being interrogated? He kind of had a brown type of a tone to him, and he was like flagging, and this person, Victor, was the person, obviously had a fake beard on and everything, and his voice was altered.
Yeah, that was a while back. That was like 10 years ago, I think, or
yes,
more.
Yes,
15 years ago, really.
I have a sound program. Years ago, but when I did my other show, I took that recording and I recorded it onto my sound program and I speeded it up. And guess who it is? Bob Lazar. Sounds exactly like him. And if you look at him and think Bob Lazar, yeah, he's got a fake wig on, he's got a fake beard on. It just looks like fake. Fake hair always looks fake.
Oh, that's curious.
But here it says, technical note, the gravity amplifier is attached to the floor with what seems to be a flexible metal. Lazar said he could move the amplifiers, felt their weight, yet they moved easily. And one thing that this model kit does not have is the tip on the top. It broke.
Oh, yeah, it had an antenna-like thing on the top of it. I forgot what that was supposed to do.
Waveguide terminator. The waveguide terminator is very similar to the top of a UFO photographed over McMinnville.
I remember the McMinnville
Oregon,
photograph. That's one
50s.
of the black and white thing that they never could debunk.
Right. Yeah.
Looked a bit like a lampshade.
He was never allowed or never had reason to go into the top level, so he wasn't sure what was up there, which I think adds to the credibility of his story because he's not claiming to know everything. It was obviously very compartmentalized, and he had a certain thing that he was studying on it, not everything.
Yeah, of course. That's he's still. It's still that story of Bob Lazar has still been called a disinformation ploy. It's still been called that. Well,
but if the truth comes out, they're going to claim it's disinformation, aren't they? Because they have to.
The thing about this is, you look at the way they were investigating this stuff. It's all compartmentalized, and you can't talk to other people. Well, science doesn't work unless the scientists can communicate with each other.
Right.
Because nobody can invent a whole system of thought just off the top of their heads with a blank sheet of paper. Scientists have to consult and work together. It's got to be done that way to make any progress. But the way Bob Lazar was describing this thing, there's not any way they could have succeeded.
Right.
In solving all these mysteries.
And that was his
way
main frustration. That was his frustration, is like,
yeah,
you're keeping it too close to the vest. You need to get people involved here to figure this out.
But the other side of that coin, if that's how they're going about it, then you really can't have a secret space program with all this technology. Because it never could have come into being. How could it? They can't work together. They can't collaborate. They can't discover anything. So how do they get the secret space program? Where does it come from?
How do they get it? Well, we look back at what William Tompkins uncovered and talks about in his books, with those over 1,000 people all working together, having these very interesting dreams on how to build a spacecraft. Like, they're all getting the same message. They're all working together. And the
point is, if that much progress had been made back then there wouldn't have been any need for this drama at S4 and Area 51 now with those devices. You wouldn't have needed it if you already knew how it worked.
But I think that having that there was what accelerated parts of our secret space program, because they had something to look at, like what William Tompkins said. They had parts that they could look at from these craft when they were designing their miles-long spacecraft for the Navy. I don't know.
Well, it's just if you can build them a mile long, then you don't really. There's not much that the sports model would have to teach you.
Well, it's not like they learned everything instantly and didn't need to know anything else. I mean, I'm sure, and it's so compartmentalized. You don't know which section got which. I mean, in Phil Corso's book, Day After Roswell, he talks about a lot about that kind of stuff, where that's.
And again, at the time that he's initiating these researches into these examples of the alien technology, at that time, he doesn't make any reference to any secret space program going on then that already knows all this stuff.
Do they already know all this stuff, or do they know maybe
if they've built aircraft carrier sized spaceships, then they have to know something, because the things fly according to the believers in the secret space program. If you believe that, then anti-gravity is kind of old hat.
Well, that's why we need disclosure, because otherwise we're just guessing, aren't we? And it
is an awful lot of guesswork, but that's my problem. That one person has their guess and somebody else has another guess, and the guesses don't necessarily all go together and correlate with each other very well. They don't have much agreement.
Secrecy is the enemy of the people.
It's the enemy. Yeah, it's the enemy of reason. Enemy of reason itself.
Yeah,
you're at the mercy of.
And if there is a secret space program, which there probably most likely is, don't you think they would want several outposts of humanity in case there's an asteroid hits Earth? Don't you think that they would have a secret base on Mars, a secret base on the Moon, and other places?
That's what I love about these stories. I enjoy these stories, whether they're true or not true, just because the idea is so appealing to me. Getting out there and doing stuff. I mean, there's one of those asteroids. I wish I knew more about its position in the solar system. There's one that NASA's analyzed. You can use reflection techniques to get some ideas about what things are made out of, from the way they reflect light and that stuff. There's one of those asteroids. They estimate it has a real high platinum content, and it's like a mile in diameter or something. It's a big object. If you could bring that back to Earth, the value of that platinum and osmium and other super rare, super valuable metals, I mean, it would be like trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars worth if you had some way to get out there and mine it. But of course you don't. You can't do that with rocket vehicles. But just think, if any of these ideas about advanced propulsion, like Alzifons or that any of these other anti-gravity ideas that are floating around, SSP
Floating
whistleblowers. If just one of those ideas works, you can get out to that asteroid that's part platinum.
I like what you said.
That's a lot of money.
Well, or it would crash the platinum market because there'd be too much. It'd be a glut, and it would all go down to the price of copper. Who knows?
Well,
But-
yeah. Well, copper is pretty valuable too. There's probably objects of copper out there. Probably everything humanity would ever need to live well is out there. It's
we
all
got a
out
whole,
there. We just don't have access.
well, we have a whole planet full of that stuff right here too.
Well, but you don't want to. You don't want to strip mine your children's playground either. You don't want to mess up your own nest. Planet Earth could be conserved, and all the mining could go on airless bodies out there if the technology existed to do so, to let us do so. And this anti-gravity stuff suggests that it is, and this secret space program stuff suggests that we already do know. Somebody knows, but they're keeping it all to themselves.
Well, the military loves to do things in secret, and they love to do things clandestinely. And it just seems to me that there would be some people in high places of power in the military industrial complex that would want to initiate a human colony, and with the idea of at first being, well, in case something hits the earth, we'll have people in these outposts.
Well, yeah, this whole notion of something hits the earth, something out there is going to hit the earth and kill us all. Well, you've got this technology that lets you go out there and do stuff, go out there and fix the problem so nothing hits the earth.
Well, the problem is sometimes we don't know until after it's past us that, oh my gosh, that I remember.
Well, yeah, or we don't know because they're keeping it secret.
Yeah, or they're coming from all different directions. Who knows where they could be coming from, and they're not lit really. Sun doesn't really light very many things up in space, apparently.
The Hollywood movies, the two Hollywood movies I can remember that take that asteroid theme. There was that one with Bruce Willis and another one that had Tia Leone in it, where asteroids hit the Earth. In each of those, the guys who go out and try to fix the problem are doing it in rocket vehicles. In the rocket vehicles, it's supposed to be real impressive. It's Hollywood special effects rockets, so they can do things that real rockets can't do.
Sure.
But we don't need to think about rockets with that. We need to think about these ideas, these things,
right?
That we're getting hints of, and this disclosure stuff, this whistleblower stuff is telling us things, and the parts we need to be paying attention to are not the parts that people are paying attention to.
Right. Well,
everybody wants to think about having sex with space babes. They don't want to think about going out to that asteroid that's full of platinum.
I don't want to get space herpes. No way. No,
yeah, the space cooties.
I don't want that.
That's the level that it seems to be stuck at sometimes. But this whole business of anti-gravity, there's a YouTube channel it's called Falcon Space. Some guy named Mark Sokol is trying to test these ideas with what lab equipment he has. He scrounges lab equipment from auctions of various universities where they've got old stuff they're getting rid of. He gets lots of things that could be used to build stuff and do stuff, so he tries to test these ideas. And he had his own edition of what he said was Frederick Alzafon's space drive. He called it the Easy Alzaphon. And I looked at the apparatus that he was showing on YouTube, and it had a big Tesla coil, and it really didn't look like anything that Frederick Alzaphon had described in the stuff I'd read by Alzaphon. And then I realized everything he had there was stuff they could have had back in the 1940s. And I realized it doesn't look to me like Mark Sokol's really testing Alzaphon's theory. He's really going back to the Honobu. That's what it looks like to me. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
He may be trying to go into that, and he just doesn't want to uncover that little can of worms about who going out into outer space.
mhm.
But the technology, maybe the premise is the technology must be simpler than Bob Lazar is imagining. I'd like to know more about it, but I couldn't tell much from the YouTube presentation. They just build a gadget, and it doesn't seem to do much. But they're trying. At least they're trying, and other people aren't trying at all. So
Mhm.
I can't criticize them too much.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of things, and even solar panels. I think a lot's been held back there. There's been no real big improvement in solar panels. They're very inefficient. They should be very efficient by now, but
Yeah, and my fear is that the real damage is done at the philosophical and conceptual level. Before anything physical happens, we've all been hurt philosophically. That the deep state consists of people who have basically an anti-human philosophy behind them.
yeah.
They don't approve of mankind. They don't approve of human progress, and that's what's wrong with them.
Oh, Dark Brain says, "Do you remember space herpes from the movie Time Bandits?" No, but that's interesting. Time Bandits, yeah, I knew it was Time Bandits. But well, we haven't heard much from Propagate. Are you still there, buddy? Propagate this light. Maybe he's getting a sandwich or something. Well, folks, we've gone over the 2-hour mark, and I'm trying to keep these shows under 2 hours. We're a little bit over now, so I think we're going to put a cap on it. I want to thank you guys for calling in. Thank you, Austin, for calling in.
You're welcome, Aaron.
And thank you, Propagate This Light, for calling in. I really appreciate you stopping by, and we'll give your show a watch. Remember to like and share this program and help get the word out so we can make stuff happen. I hope everyone is going to have a very happy, wonderful, Merry Christmas. And we'll talk to you, wait a minute, on Friday, I think. Pretty sure we'll talk to you on Friday. All right. Well, thank you again, everybody. Oops, I better type my own message in here. Thank you all. A little heart. Here we go. Thanks, Austin, for calling in. Always a pleasure when you call in. Always fun and interesting conversation. And
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you to all the Ultra mods in our chat and all the people who came by. And there's Propagate This Light. Your device crashed. Okay, well, we were glad to have you on. And make sure you go check out his channel and subscribe to him. And share his show out. Share this show out. Share everything. It's sharing is caring. So we'll see you on Friday. Until then, peace in.